Hi class, this is Mr. Tan and we are at Warwick Castle, and we're at the top of one of the locations of Warwick Castle, and we're going to be doing organisational behaviour, and on the organisational behaviour we're going to be doing P2. So let's just take a quick look and see our location and where we are. We can see down there is part of the castle, down here is a stream. Let's look at this beautiful location. Absolutely beautiful around here. And out across us here we can see Warwick Castle. We're in the inside of Warwick Castle. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, so we're going to be focusing on P2 of organisational behaviour. And the first thing we do in organisational behaviour is we break the question down. The question says evaluate. Keyword here means to look at the pros and cons, or the advantages or disadvantages of how content and processes of motivational techniques enable effective achievement of goals from an organisational context. So obviously we have to use a company to look at this, and in the case study we're looking at Sainsbury's, so we have to relate how motivational theories relate or can be used in a positive or negative way in terms of Sainsbury's. So what motivational techniques are there? Well, there are a number of motivational techniques, and some include Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Another includes Douglas McGregor, X and Y theory, and the third, and there are more, but the third one which we're discussing today is Hertzberg's hygiene factors and motivating factors, motivating and dissatisfaction and satisfaction factors. So the first thing that we need to do obviously is to discuss the different types of theories, motivational theories. And then once we've discussed a motivational theory, then we need to relate it to how it's applied in the case study to Sainsbury's or not, in terms of its advantages or disadvantages, in terms of that specific motivational theory. So if we look at Maslow, what is Maslow saying? Well, let me try and put this down. So Maslow was saying that his pyramid of his hierarchy of needs, and with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, he was saying that you had to actually meet the lower needs before you can meet the higher needs. And without meeting the lower needs, you can't actually meet the higher needs of an individual. And at the bottom of his pyramid, he had psychological needs. And these psychological needs included food, water, and warmth. The next level up were safety needs. And in the safety needs, they're looking at freedom from fear, safety in the workplace. The next level up is love and belonging. Love and belonging in terms of feeling wanted and needed. The next level up was a self-esteem, where employees wanted recognition and achievement in their workplace. And then finally, at the top of Maslow's pyramid, he had self-actualization. Self-actualization was the inner fulfillment of needs. And so you need to explain Maslow's hierarchy of needs and each level: psychological, safety, belonging, self-esteem, and self-actualization. And what Maslow was saying was that you can't actually meet the belonging need if you haven't actually met the basic psychological needs in terms of, for instance, food, water, and warmth. So, but so Maslow is saying that. So how do we apply this now to Sainsbury's? Well, in terms of psychological needs in Sainsbury's, they're saying that your staff, in order for them to be motivated and to be producing their work efficiently and effectively, then they need to be motivated. And in order to be motivated, firstly, basically, they need to have a break, and tea breaks and lunch breaks, because if they don't have a tea break and lunch break, then their psychological needs are not going to be met. And if the psychological needs are not going to be met, then their higher needs cannot be met either. Then the next thing is that they need to be safe and secure in the working environment they're working in, and freedom from fear in the workplace itself. The next need is belonging or love. So how do you actually apply this to Sainsbury's? Well, people don't just come to work. People actually also come to work to be part of a group and to mix and to socialise, because we are actually social creatures. So here you can have staff parties, Christmas parties, days out with staff, here trying to engage more of a social atmosphere into the workplace. Then the next level up is self-esteem recognition for your work and achievement in monetary values, and also being recognised with higher status and value. And then finally, self-actualization. So you apply this to Sainsbury's and actually say, does it actually work in Sainsbury's? Well, according to some people who I've spoken to, who have friends in Sainsbury's, they're saying that, okay, the psychological and safety needs seems to be met in terms of people having a lunch break and tea breaks, but sometimes the breaks can be too short. And if the breaks are too short, then people can't actually do what they need to do to meet that basic need. And even sometimes with achievement and recognition, you do see in Sainsbury's Employee of the Month and things that staff have actually achieved. But there is some dispute about this, because some people actually say, from their friends who worked in Sainsbury's, that sometimes it's not really the people who are being recognised that are being recognised, it's people who are being put forward. That doesn't necessarily mean they are the best people who should be recognised. So it's normally friends putting other people forward. I'm not too sure if that's true, but this is what some people have said. So if that's the case, then people are not going to feel that this recognition scheme is actually working. So again, you can have some pros and cons, but the advantages of doing Maslow is that Maslow is saying that you can meet and motivate people to be happy, and if they're happy, then they're going to be motivated to work harder and more. But if they're not motivated, then they're not going to be working. But the basic thing here is meeting the lower needs, and if you don't meet the lower needs, then you can't meet the higher needs. But then I question Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because Maslow is saying in order to meet the higher needs, you must meet the lower needs. But unless you're happy with what you have, you will never be happy with what you get. So again, there are some advantages and disadvantages in terms of Sainsbury's sometimes meeting or not meeting the lower needs. And if they don't meet the lower needs in terms of safety or freedom or food, then they will not be able to meet the higher needs of self-esteem and recognition. And then you have Douglas McGregor, X and Y theory. In Douglas McGregor's X and Y theory, he is saying that theory X, where the worker is viewed as lazy, and they do as little as possible. And here, if you categorize people with a theory X, then you're saying that these people really need to be supervised and monitored. Supervised, monitored, with strict control, with reward and strict punishment if they don't achieve what they need to achieve. And then he was saying that you have theory Y. Theory Y is saying that workers are not lazy. Workers are not lazy, but they do a good job, and the job itself determines if the workers likes the work and will do a good job. Here, the managers actually give greater latitude, and managers create opportunities for workers. and here you have decentralization of authority. And what this theory is saying that, you either view the workers as X or Y. So if we view and relate this to Sainsbury's, we can either view it as the Sainsbury's staff at the lower levels, for instance, as X or Y, that if we view them as X, then we're going to view them as lazy. We need to monitor them, we need to punish them, and keep strict control. But then if you do this and you view them as this, then these workers could become demotivated, so they would do the least amount possible anyway, and they may not be motivated to do all that they can in the time that they have to do it, if they feel that they're just coming in for the money, or they feel they're not being listened to. So again, if that is the case, then you're not really going to get the best out of your staff. I know one young lad went to Sainsbury's and he just kept being put on the self-service, and he felt he was only being put there, and some of the easier jobs like sitting at the till and sitting down and taking the payments was easier, but he felt he was being put there simply because he was young and they could tell him what to do. But the older people, or the friends of the people who were friends with the supervisors, would be given the easier jobs.